Some call her the Lady in Black, some call her too tough to tame. We're at Darlington tonight for one of the most traditional venues on the NASCAR calendar, and more than a fitting venue for this round of the ANZCAR Monday Night Truck Series, brought to us by 131 Web Radio. So we've got I'd say a very interesting race in prospect tonight. We've got quite a substantial field here, some very top level drivers here as well. They're just finishing their warm-up at the moment. I don't think in terms of the actual reputation and the level of mystique that any particular venue has in NASCAR, I don't think anything actually tops this one. Of course, Daytona's the most famous one. It's the one that everybody knows, but if you ask the drivers and the hardcore fans, they'll certainly tell you that Darlington is something very, very special indeed. So we're in for a very exciting race tonight. I think we've been watching a little bit of practice here, and there's the too tough to tame reputation is definitely standing up to scrutiny, because a lot of these guys are having a bit of trouble getting around here, trouble running fast. It's very, very narrow. The racing surface is actually quite wide, but the surface that you actually want to be using, which is everything above that dotted line, is definitely very, very narrow and difficult to negotiate, and one little slip can send you right cannoning into that inside wall, usually with a stripe on your door for your trouble. So just having a look at the guys who are finishing up their practice runs now, and while we are just waiting for qualifying to start, we might just very quickly go through the points. It's very, very tight at the top. We've actually got Ben Doherty, who is leading this championship by 1 point, just one single solitary point over Michael Skurlock, who's sitting there in second place. It's only 5 further points back to Raymond Yeager, and only 5 further points from him back to Aaron Wilton, then only 2 points back to Darren Brumfield. So those are the guys, those top 5, very, very close. And of course the top 3 in this championship, so vital, because the top 3 in this series, at the end of this series, comes with the coveted invitation to join the Thunder Series on a Thursday night, which is the goal most of these guys are fighting for. So just having a look at some of the guys just beginning their qualifying now. And I'm just actually watching Matt Danson, who's actually our reigning series champion, and he's just getting around on his warm-up lap at the moment, so it'll be very interesting to see what kind of thing he can put together. So just coming around to start his flying lap now, and he's heading off in turn 1 and 2, which are actually a completely different radius to 3 and 4, and that's one of the things that gives this track such a unique characteristic. There aren't too many asymmetrical tracks around in oval racing. Corners can often be different, the turns and the surfaces can be different, but not often is the radius so very different, but it certainly is here. So he's just running up now through 3 and 4 to complete his first flying lap, and as he comes across the line, just waiting for that time to come in, he goes second place, 2/10 exactly behind Braden Bullis, his Nexus Esports teammate. So Braden's actually set that very fast lap, as we'd expect, having for watch there. So just watching that come through to finish his second lap now. He's just coming through 3 and 4 one more time. Not sure if he's going to be able to improve. The tyres are usually past their best after one lap. We'll see if he's able to pop in a slightly faster lap than he did last time, put a bit more pressure on his teammate, and he has not improved. So the best he's going to start is in second place. So just having a look now just to see who else is out on the circuit pulling a lap together, and it looks like John Sorensen is actually out there. He's in the number 64 Alliance Motorsports truck, and hasn't he run well? He's actually run really, really well this season. He's one of those guys who doesn't really get involved in too much trouble. And if you have a look at the series statistics there, he gets in very, very few incidents worth a name. And as he's just firing up here on lap 1, just going through the first couple of turns there, just heading out onto the back straight. Looks like he's taking a fairly good line. He is being a little bit cautious, leaving himself some space between the wall and his truck, and he's just turning into 3 and 4 now. He's going to try and get a really strong run off here. You can see him dropping low on the exit, just pulling off onto the straight, hard on the throttle, nice and early. We'll see what he comes across in. Where does he go? He goes right up to 4th place there, so he's in P4, and we'd expect him probably not to improve on this second lap, but we'll stay with him and see if he is able to improve something and maybe move up a little bit further. But that certainly is a fantastic effort for that first time round, P4. And I know that oh yeah, he's just brushed the wall actually, just brushed the wall on that second lap, so this lap will not count. One of the things in iRacing you cannot do in qualifying is brush the wall, get any incident points whatsoever, because your time will be invalidated. So this is around about the time when I should actually mention that my co-commentator is here in the box with us. I'm not just commentating alone tonight, and I believe he's actually arrived now. It's Daniel Grzeskiewicz. That's right, Daniel. I actually took the time to learn to pronounce it. We all call him Danny G. How you going, Daniel?
Good, thank you. How you doing, Edward?
Very, very well. So I was just talking a little bit earlier on about just the unique characteristics of this place, Darlington, what it means to all the drivers and the teams and everything, and just how well respected it is, and how about a win here means so much to these guys. What's your understanding of Darlington and the actual place that it holds in NASCAR folklore, I suppose?
Well, it's an old track. They've been going to this one for a while. To me, it sort of reminds me of an egg almost. You got like the big corner of 1 and 2 down the bottom of an egg, and then at the top it's a bit more tighter for turns 3 and 4. And I believe, not sure how long ago, but probably before my time, the actual start-finish line was on the opposite side of the track. So turns 3 and 4 are actually turn 1 and 2. But yeah, the NASCAR folklore, I mean, they run the throwback race here every year, and all the teams sort of get on board and paint their cars up like the old days. And yeah, it's a very, very fun race and very interesting track. It's always exciting.
Certainly is a very, very historic place, a place where they've been racing for many, many years. Just watching Nathan Tregarten getting round now on his second flying lap. He's already put in a 29.7, which has got him up there in 16th place, and just gets a little bit loose off of turn 2. So I don't believe he'll be improving too much on this second lap. He's just got a little bit out of shape, and most guys haven't actually been improving so much on their second lap anyway. So as he comes across the line here, I don't think we're going to see him going faster, but I could be wrong. And no, he does not improve. So he will start the race from 16th place at best. And now just searching for somebody. We've actually got Ben Doherty, who's actually just crossed the line on what will probably be his best lap in 4th position. So we're just watching him in the on his second lap right now. As we said earlier on, not really expecting him to improve too much on the second lap, but he could pull out a surprise. So very competitive 4th place. He's actually our championship leader at the moment, as we mentioned, by one single solitary point over Michael Skurlock. So he's doing an excellent job. Let's see if he's actually able to improve as he comes across the line. And oh yes, he has actually improved on his second lap, and he's actually bumped the reigning champ down to 4th place. So he will start from 3rd position if nobody else is able to improve. So quite a excellent effort from him to improve on that second lap, Daniel.
Yeah, it definitely was. You don't often see the second lap being quicker, but he must have had a bit of a shocking first lap to improve on the second one. Or he just got good runs off the corner, you never know.
Yeah, certainly is. Just watching Michael Skurlock now. He's just coming around to finish his first lap. And I think he may have just glanced the wall on the outside there. Let's see if he actually gets a time as he comes through. No time registered, so that means he's going to be down to his second lap to actually set his time and get him a place on the grid. He's going to have to make sure it's a very, very good one, because he's got championship aspirations. Obviously, as we mentioned before, he's only 1 point off the lead at this stage. So he's going to really need to put in a good lap here to make sure he's not starting way behind his championship rival, Ben Doherty. Roval was last week. And just as he comes up across the line for his second lap, let's see what he's able to put together. Only 10th position, so he's actually slotted in there just behind Brett Douglas, and that's not going to do him any favours starting back there. It is very hard to pass here, and I don't believe he's going to be that happy with that effort. He's certainly capable of more, and he's going to be up against it once this race starts.
Yeah, he definitely will be. He'll be sitting there in about mid-pack. We've got a decent turnout tonight, actually. It's going to be 20-plus trucks on the track, which is good to see.
Yeah, 20 plus on the track. We've already had 21 drivers set times, and I think there's about 3 more sitting down there who haven't actually posted a time as yet. So not sure if they're actually planning to set a time. They're just sitting there waiting, biding their time to see what other guys are going to do, or whether they're actually looking at starting from the back, or potentially even have been out and actually rubbed the wall on both their laps and so haven't set a time. But just having a look on the standings at the moment, I wouldn't discount any of those guys who are there yet to set a time, but just looking at the ones that we've got at the moment, this is going to be a fairly close approximation of what our final grid's going to look like. So we've got Bullis at the moment, Hasn't he been fast? He's sitting up there on pole position as things stand, 1.1 of a second, actually ahead of Stephen Williams, who's in second at the moment. It's further 10th back to Ben Doherty in third, Matt Danson sitting there in fourth, Rob Lee in fifth, Raymond Jaeger in sixth, Sorensen, Cornwall, Douglas, and as we mentioned, Michael Skurlock rounding out the top 10 at the moment. So I'm not sure if we're going to see, we've got Darren McKenzie, Aaron Wilton and Stacey Walker yet to set lap times, and I'm not 100% sure we're going to see those guys out on the track. They're kind of leaving it very, very late now. We've got just over a minute's worth of qualifying to go. So just looking forward towards the race now, Daniel. Obviously, the guys at the front, they've got a clear track in front of them, and it's quite tight and narrow here in terms of actual usable racing space. If you're Michael Skurlock starting from down there in 10th place, you've obviously got championship aspirations, but you don't want to wreck either. That's the last thing you want to do. So what's the approach that you're taking from 10th on the grid?
Well, if he's starting from 10th, he'll be on the outside, and you don't want to be out on the outside during, like, going through turns 1 and 2. So he's going to have to watch himself. They usually sort of give up that inside lane and to sort of all get in line. It's a funny sort of corner, but as you sort of head down into turn 3 as well, the safety barrier actually jumps out at you on the backstretch towards the corner. So you've also got to be mindful of that. I've hit it a number of times now. If you're going too wide, yeah, it's going to be interesting coming from 10th. I really don't envy him, to be honest.
Yeah, mid-pack's pretty nasty. You'd almost prefer to be where Darren McKenzie is. He's just actually dropped us a line here at Performance East Streaming to say that he's going to be starting at the back, probably part of a longer-term plan to stay out of trouble. So just in terms of your actual grid, guys, we'll just run through the official grid now as the drivers all start to line up behind the pace car, ready to get this race underway. So as mentioned, we've got Braden Bullis and Stephen Williams on row 1, Ben Doherty and Matt Danson on row 2, Rob Lee and Raymond Jaeger on row 3, at Sorensen and Cornwall, row 4, row 5, Brett Douglas and Michael Skurlock, row 6, Scott Butler and Ryan Jones, row 7, Kevin Bomford and Glenn Ince, and then looking back further from there, we've got Bradley Cheney, Darren Brumfield, Blake Haswell, Nathan Tregarthen, Tristan Koch, Michael Latter, and Will Barrington. And then, of course, there are the drivers who did not elect to set a qualifying time. Darren McKenzie, Stacey Walker, and Aaron Wilton will round up your field of 24 starters here tonight. So as they sit there on the grid, everyone's sort of gridding up now behind the pace car, getting themselves set, getting everything, all their switches set where they want and all the rest of it. I suppose there's going to be a bit of jitters in these first few laps, and I am expecting to see a caution quite early on, but it remains to be seen whether that is actually proved correct. Quite often in these more difficult races, you almost go through a bit of a sort of culling period at the beginning where a few of the guys who maybe haven't practiced as much as they should or are just feeling a little bit nervous tend to make their mistakes and bring cautions out, and then everything settles into a bit of a rhythm and gets going. So that could be what happens tonight. We could actually see an early caution, but unfortunately hopefully we won't actually see too many of those tonight. We'll get some nice green flag racing in. So Daniel, as they're heading around on the parade lap, just watching these guys, they're not actually heading off quite yet, but the pace car will be moving away quite shortly. Starting on this race, I mean, are you expecting to see a wreck early, or do you think that we're going to be able to get deep into this race before we have any troubles?
Well, they could surprise us. I mean, I always think there's going to be a wreck early in these things, and sometimes there's not, sometimes there is. Yeah, but like you say, usually a few sort of wrecks early. So we've got a burnout happening on the grid here by the 44. He's sideways. Yeah, doesn't bode well at the moment.
No, I shouldn't think that that'd make too much sense. We're burning up your tyres before the race even starts, especially around here. So, and it looks like he's just about driven into the side of the 94 now as well. So, not exactly. And he's gone into the wall now too, probably having heated up his rear tyres, doing burnouts on the grid. So, hasn't actually covered himself in glory there, and being broadcast right across the internet as well won't have done him any favours. But anyway, he's underway and he's running around under the pace car. So. Everyone's sort of catching up and forming up now. They're going to be getting themselves ready, getting all their switches set, everything else. And a few of the guys commenting on there that they're very scared. I don't actually blame them. Just have a look at how tight that looks as the trucks are coming around on their parade lap. It's looking so tight. Really doesn't look as though there's a lot of space for anyone to move, let alone overtake. So I think smart drivers are actually going to be just consolidating their positions in this first couple of laps until people are able to string out, go single file, and then maybe actually start making some moves from there. But the pace car is in and we're just about ready to go. Braden Bullis has control of the field, and we'll see when he decides to jump, and he jumps right now. And he's jumped very well. He's gone. He's left Stephen Williams behind with Matt Danson right up behind him. And I believe that's Ben Doherty still hanging around on the inside line, hoping to get a position away from Danson. But Bullis has started very well, and he's cleared out as the remaining field follows him around. I can't see any accidents back there as yet. Everything's looking fairly clean. A few guys probably just chancing their luck a little bit with the wall, but it looks as though everybody's got through there rather cleanly. And we can see now we've got Braden Bullis with a decent lead. Stephen Williams going with him as he completes lap 1, and that's one green lap. And we've got Braden Bullis, Stephen Williams, as we mentioned, sort of clearing out from the rest of the pack, which is being headed up by Matt Danson, and then this snarling pack of trucks coming along behind him. So they're going to just be sorting themselves out now. It looks as though somebody just touches the wall in the background there. It looks as though they've got themselves mostly well sorted out. They wanted to get single file as quickly as they possibly can, get themselves sorted, get themselves bedded in, get the tyres up to temperature, and not actually risk themselves too early on. There's quite a few laps in this race. It's 120 laps. It's a long time around here, and we can actually see Ben Doherty now just pushing up on the back of Matt Danson, trying to put the reigning champ under a bit of pressure.
But every time the trucks do hit the wall, we call that a Darlington stripe, and you do earn them. And I don't know if it's so much of an honour or not, but yeah, if you haven't got a Darlington stripe at the end of the night, you weren't trying hard enough.
Well, it's funny. I've heard a couple of different stories, different accounts of the Darlington stripe. It tends to almost be a badge of dishonour now, meaning that you actually got too high and put a nice stripe along the car on the side of the wall. But I've actually heard that in the old days, back when it was just a metal Armco barrier there, the fastest way around Darlington was to actually get out. Oh, looks like we've had a wreck. It looks like we've actually had a wreck back there. We've actually got Glenn Ince pushing into the inside wall. So I'm not sure if that's going to attract a caution or not, but he's actually spun off the off turn 2 and put it right into that inside wall, and he's actually spun again trying to get going. So this, I'm not sure if it's going to attract a caution or not. He's reversed into the inside wall as well. I'm not sure that it's actually brought the caution out, though. It looks like we're still under green, and he's going to have to crawl back to the pits and do so very carefully, because he's already lit those rear tyres up once, and I wonder if he regrets doing burnouts on the grid.
Yeah, definitely I'd say so. I don't know how that didn't bring the caution, to be honest. But anyway, the race continues.
The race does continue, and as we were saying earlier on, just Stephen Williams had cleared out on everyone else. That pack has sort of caught up to him now. We've actually got Matt Danson and Ben Doherty and Rob Lee in there behind him as well. And Rob Lee here, we only see him occasionally in ANZCAR. I wish we saw him a little bit more, because he's always very quick when he shows up. So I'm not sure if he's got work commitments or other things that he likes to do on a Monday night, but I wish we saw more of Rob Lee, because he's very quick indeed. Just having a look back towards some of the guys a little bit further back in the pack, we've got Ricky Cornwall running around the outside of Michael Skurlock, who's actually just taken that position from him. He's taken P7 now, so he's moved up a good couple of positions since the start of the race. Let's not forget that he messed up his qualifying, started down in 10th, and he's just moved up 7th position, so Michael Skurlock definitely on the charge. It doesn't look as though Ricky Cornwall wants to let him go, though, but I think Skurlock, with his pace, is going to be able to possibly extend that gap and start working in on the back of Raymond Jaeger.
It definitely looks like that. He's definitely matching Jaeger. And he started this race pretty good today. Like he's done what we asked. He was obviously pretty slow and steady, and now he's starting to way in front.
Okay, we've got a wreck. I believe that's Brett Douglas. Brett Douglas has gone into the wall, and he's collected by Nathan Tregarton. I think Haswell might have been involved in that one as well. Not exactly really sure how that started. Just going back to have a quick look. Looks actually as though the 94 of Scott Butler might have got up into him, and he's spun up and taken. Who was that? looks like it might have been Ryan Jones, taken Ryan Jones as well. So quite a few guys involved in that, unfortunately. And we see our first caution of the race. Looks as though Brett Douglas now trying to bring that truck back to the lane. Yeah, that's seen better days. Nathan Tregarton looks like he's all out of power as well. Yeah, quite a few guys unfortunately caught up in that. And it looks as though, and it could be wrong, but it looks to me as though that was actually kicked off by Scott Butler just getting up into the side of Douglas. Alright, so as they all form up under caution, we can see a few guys coming to the lane now. We've got Braden Bullis, our leader, he's come in. Just about all the leaders have come in. And coming in there, Braden Bullis, Stephen Williams, all in grid order as the pits are set up in NASCAR racing. And I believe Brett Douglas still trying to make his way around. Looks like there's a few trucks picked up some sort of damage in that. Bullis gets away first. Looks like Stephen Williams is just going to hold off Matt Danson as he comes out of there. Danson got very, very close to actually taking that net second position away from Stephen Williams. So yeah, very, very close. Most of the other guys forming out in order. So I know, Daniel, we were talking earlier on about the Darlington stripe. And that little badge of honour that you sort of say. And I believe I heard one of the older drivers, it may have actually been Mario Andretti, talking about the Darlington stripe and how back in the days of the old Armco style barriers, it was actually, if you were going really, really fast, you know, if you're really on it, the best way to get around this track really quickly on a hot qualifying lap or something like that was to just run your car just against the barriers on the exit of turn 4, what was probably turn 2 then actually, and run it out that way, and that was actually the fastest way around this track. And if you came back to the pits with that stripe down the side of your car, they knew that you'd been trying very, very hard indeed. So that's, I guess, an alternate history of the Darlington stripe as far as I've heard it.
Yeah, I've heard that version before too. It sounds like something I'd do on an older Tonka Touring Cars game, sort of ride the wall there, pick up lap time.
All right, so just looking at the front, looks like we had a few guys actually stay out during that yellow flag period. Looks like we've got Will Barrington and Tristan Koch, who look for all the world like teammates to me, and I assume that they probably are. So they're actually sitting there first and second. You see the 666 of Barrington, followed by the 43, legendary number there, especially around this place, of Tristan Koch, and then our leaders who are all on new tyres, Braden Buller, Stephen Williams, Matt Danson, and Scott Butler is back there in 6th at the moment, just showing a 6 on the score sheet, but I believe he's actually been into the pits, so he will start to cycle down the scores as they all cross the line. So this is going to be interesting because we've got the top 2 trucks there, both on old tyres. They're not overly old, we're only on lap 11, but they've certainly had the performance edge taken off them. So we've seen here before, Danny, how old tyres on a restart can be very, very dangerous if you're not, I guess, equipped to or ready to deal with the lack of grip that you have versus what you normally do a restart on, which is new tyres. So with the top 2 trucks there on old tyres, I mean, are you expecting any carnage here?
Yeah, we could see it. You're going to be definitely nervous if you're Bullos or Williams here, starting behind them. Hopefully they don't spin their tyres. But I can't see them staying out there for too much longer in the lead. They're going to drop back pretty quickly.
Yeah, even at a track as hard to pass as this one, I think they're going to drop reasonably quickly. We're probably going to see Bullis at the very least have a very, very hard go at them coming into turn 1 for the first time. And I imagine that Stephen Williams is not going to be wanting to let Braden get away from him at all. So just having a look as they come around now to take the green flag. We are ready to go. The pace car is off. Just waiting for Barrington to go, and Barrington has gone. He's got away very well actually. He's left his teammate in the dust, and he's done Braden Bullis a huge favour because Bullis is now just coming right down the inside. That couldn't have been synchronised any better if they were teammates for Braden Bullis, because Braden has gone there into turn 1. He's got 2 trucks with old tyres behind him. Stephen Williams was badly held up, and it looks as though he's hanging there on the outside. He's going to lose a position to Matt Danson, and probably Rob Lee as well, as they all spread out down the straight there as well. Darren McKenzie got really far down there onto the inside, and I was just having a look out the back of the camera shot. Didn't look like he had room to come back up, and indeed he didn't. He's still making his way around the apron trying to catch that truck, and he is falling all the way to the back of the field. So it looks like he may have got a little piece of the wall perhaps, or something like that, but he was way down on the inside coming down that straight for the first time and just had no room to come back onto the track. So he has dropped a ton of positions there. And Braden Bull is looking serene out the front. Matt Danson now making a move past Will Barrington. He's already passed Koch. Williams passed Koch as well. Doherty looks as though he's going to take the opportunity to go down inside of Koch on those old tyres as well. And Stephen Williams needs no second invitation. He's going to be pretty annoyed, I think, getting stuck up so badly at that restart. That has cost him that second place. And now we've got Doherty as well, just getting down and underneath Barrington. And I think Lee's going to follow. And I think we've got Spurlock there who's making his way up. He's going to follow as well. So Spurlock, I think, now making his way up into about 6th place. We'll actually see exactly where he is when he crosses the line, but I think he's going to be around about P6. So him definitely making inroads. Don't forget that it's actually Ben Doherty who's leading this championship. Only a point ahead of Spurlock, and now they are just 2 positions apart. Ben Doherty sitting there in 4th, Spurlock there in 6th with only Rob Lee between them.
Yeah, there's a lot of this top 5's done very good to get past those 2 trucks on older tyres. You know, it got pretty frantic there. They knew they had to get past. It looks like Koshi made contact with the wall a little bit, and he's lost a lot of time. He's got back to 14th place now.
Yeah, and I just, I suppose, give a props to Will Barrington as well. I mean, he's started there on the pole, or on the front row with those old tyres on. And yes, he's been swallowed up by the other cars, as you'd expect him to on those newer tyres. But he hasn't made any mistakes. He hasn't rubbed the wall. He hasn't done anything silly. He just held his line and managed to actually negotiate what was quite a frantic period for everyone. So I think very well done by him as well.
Yeah, definitely he's ended up pretty good. I'm just looking back now at Ryan Jones. He's collected the wall. He's definitely got some right front damage there. He's under heavy fire now from Darren McKenzie. It's on the inside. He's going to make the pass.
Yeah, definitely looks like it. McKenzie, of course, now putting on a recovery drive from when he ran down and fell not so many laps ago, right down the back of the field. So, and those guys are being chased by, I think it's 4 Alliance Motorsport trucks all in a row. They're all just back there together now, just pushing their way up and trying to improve on their overall position. But I think you're right. Looks like Ryan Jones has definitely picked up his Darlington strike for the evening.
Yes, just fall back there. He's probably losing the front. Montford, got him there in a couple laps, I'd say, underneath him.
Yeah, I'd say they're going to absolutely pound him. He's just going to feel like Groundhog Day. There's going to be Alliance Motorsport trucks just going by and by and by and by. I mean, although he is holding his own there and those guys are starting to battle, you can see McKenzie there has already caught up with Blake Haswell and Raymond Yeager. He's really just knocking on the back of Haswell's truck there, pushing him out of the way. He's taking, you wouldn't want to meet him anywhere today, would you? He's just come up past those guys. He's definitely got a lot of pace in that truck and not afraid to get the bumpers out either, which is what we've come to expect from Darren McKenzie over the years, I think. Now, it looks as though Yeager and Haswell have got together. And that's actually brought the caution out. Just going back to have a very quick look to see what happened there. And it looks as though Haswell has just not been able to keep the nose of that truck down, and he's actually got into the back of Yeager. So
I think Yeager actually came off the wall.
Oh, really? Did Yeager come off the wall? I didn't actually notice that myself, but it's entirely possible. And Raymond Yeager, of course, we mentioned him earlier on, running so high up in his championship at the moment in 3rd, with a really good shot of nabbing the lead if things go his way tonight. And he's another one having put on a recovery drive from here on, I think.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't look like the truck took too much damage to that, but Yeager definitely got into the wall. You have to spend a little bit of time between that.
All right, so looking at the pit lane now, we've got Braden Bullis and his Nexus Esports teammate Matt Danson coming in right behind him. Stephen Williams there in 3rd, and everyone's coming down the pit lane now. Everyone just coming in, realising that you really need fresh as possible tyres to compete around here. And they are all taking the opportunity to get in there and pop some new boots on these trucks. So I'm not sure that anybody has stayed out. I think everybody sort of learned from the issues with that the 666 and the 43 faced earlier on, staying out. I think that everybody's coming in, and I think we're going to see a lot of that. I mean, there's such a narrow racing surface here. You've got to be so precise with your lines. The one thing that you don't want is a lack of grip, and I think everyone's going to be doing all they can to get as much grip as absolutely possible. It's a frantic run out of the pits too, and Danson, Steve Williams and Ben Doherty coming out as close as that. So it looks as though they pretty much retained their positions, but that was certainly very close.
It definitely was. Steve Williams has come out third. He's looking actually good tonight, Williams. Got a good lap times and definitely got a pretty car at the moment. Yeah,
he's looking solid. He's looking very solid. I think he may even still be in second place, if not for that restart last time round. Rob Lee, it looks like he's actually lost a position potentially to... looks as though Stacey Walker might be up there ahead of him at the moment. We haven't really mentioned Stacey too much tonight, but it looks as though he's sitting up there at the moment ahead of Rob Lee, right up there. So I don't know if he maybe even took 2 tyres or something like that, because he's made a huge jump up from 13th position to 6th in the race off pit road. So I can only assume that he's gone for a quicker stop, 2 tyres rather than 4.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at that now. And yeah, his stop does look actually a lot quicker than the others here. Definitely 2 tyres there.
All right, so it looks like we've got another strategy variable in place. It's something you don't see too often, certainly in ANZCAR competition, as people going for the 2 tyres. You tend to find that the trucks for the first few laps, at the very least, are fairly unbalanced.
Yeah. I mean, it does take a little while. I think usually for me, like the first lap's probably your best lap on tyres, and obviously starting to wear away. But especially this track, is quite abrasive. You are losing a lot of grip, so yeah, you got to look after the tyres. But actually, going back to the replay, I still think he took actually 4 tyres there.
Conditions for apparently no reason. So if he's managed to take 4 tyres, he's done an amazing job. So either way that he's done it, congratulations to him. He's moved up a great deal of positions, and I guess time will tell exactly what type of tyres he's got on that thing, because if he's only got 2, you'll probably find that most of the guys behind who've taken 4 are going to be putting a lot of pressure on him very, very quickly indeed. Alright, so we're just actually coming round at the moment. They're all going to form up 2 by 2 to get going again. We are working lap 24 of 120 tonight, so just under 100 to go. There's already a couple of damaged trucks out there, so they're going to be sort of just trying to get as many repairs done, and they're working with the crews to get these trucks to the end. But 2 trucks which are looking very clean indeed. It's the Nexus Esports pair, Braden Bullis and Matt Danson, sitting there on the front row. And I wonder if those 2 are going to coordinate their restart to make sure they both get away well and they don't come under too much pressure from Stephen Williams. I'm not sure that they work that closely together, but we'll certainly see. If Danson gets away very well, you can probably assume that they are working together. But no, Braden Bullis has just left his teammate absolutely hanging. So this is going to give Stephen Williams the opportunity to get back down the inside of Danson and probably redress what he felt was taken from him earlier on. But it looks as though Danson's going to get across, get nice and across in front of Williams, and he's going to be left to fight it out with Doherty over 3rd place.
Yeah, there's definitely no problem with those sorts of restarts. That's what the instructions are. Once the pace car goes off, you go when you go. I'll just be interested to see one day if iRacing actually bring in the restart zone. That would make restarts a lot more close and interesting.
Yeah, certainly would, but of course if you're on the front row there and you're the leader and you've got the call, the way things are at the moment, you'd be silly not to take advantage of it, as we just see Rob Lee trying to take a look at Stacey Walker. And I'll tell you who is dropping back like an absolute stone at the moment, Michael Skurlock. We saw how well he did earlier on to make all those positions, but he is falling back at an incredible rate. He was just up alongside Stacey Walker and fighting over 5th, 6th and 7th a moment ago, but he was kind of up high, and I don't think he hit anything, but he really didn't have any confidence up on that high line. And now he's dropped all the way back down to 10th place, so that's where he qualified. He's got it all to do all over again.
Yeah, he does. He's going to have to work hard now. I do think he actually got into the wall. He's got a little bit of left front damage on the left front of the right front of the spoiler. He's definitely been up the wall.
Yeah, I think he might have got a piece of the wall while that was all going on, but I don't think that was the catalyst for him falling back at that stage. So anyway, he's got it all to do again. Okay, looks like we've got another wreck out there. Yellow flag is out, so just going to have a look back through to actually see who's brought that particular one out.
Stacey Walker, looks like he's just come under Mackenzie in turn 4, and they've made contact, and he's Stacey Walker inside the wall there.
Oh, that's unfortunate. He was having an incredible run. We were talking about him earlier on, and how much progress he was actually making towards the front of the field. Good pit stops and stuff, but he did actually get into. Yeah, he definitely got in the side of Darren McKenzie there, and has definitely come off worse for wear. I don't think McKenzie has actually dropped any positions as a result of that, but he may have picked up a little bit of damage. I think he has, but certainly the big loser out of that's going to be Stacey Walker.
Yeah, Stacey, he's continuing now on track. Just having a look if I can see any damage. He did actually collect the inside wall pretty hard there. His nose is pretty bent up. He's going to have to definitely do some repairs to stop from overheating there.
Yeah, he'll duck in and get some repairs done under this caution. I'll be interested to see if the leaders elect to come in. In fact, they're answering it for me right now. Looks like they are. Oh, no, there's actually a split in strategies. And it looks as though Matt Danson may well have outfoxed his teammate there because they all fainted towards the pit lane. And Bullis just went the other side of the commitment cone. And at that point, Danson's just taken the opportunity to duck straight in and shafted his teammate completely. And he's brought the rest of the field with him. So I think that Braden Bullis, our leader, is one of the only ones to stay out. Who else have we got out there behind him? We've got Michael Latter, who I believe is, where is he? He's 23rd position, so he's some laps down. But we also got, who have we got in there behind him? They're mostly, we've got Barrington in there as well, Brumfield and so on. So I'm not sure how many of those guys are actually up there. I think there's a few of those guys are actually a few laps down. So it could well be that Braden Bullis and potentially, yeah, I think Braden Bullis is the only truck on the lead lap to have not come down pit lane, which means he is going to have a snarling pack behind him of trucks all on fresh tyres. I'm not sure how they work things out in the Nexus Esports garage, but if I was Braden right now, I wouldn't be overly happy with my teammate. He's taken the entire field down the pit lane to get fresh tyres and is going to come out behind him and absolutely monster him. So it looks as though Danson's absolutely sold him a dummy there for sure.
This is going to be a great restart. All those guys on fresh tyres. The only other truck to stay out was Scott Brothers, number 94. He's in second place.
Okay.
Fronts are on tyres.
Right, so there was one more to stay out, the 94 of Scott Butler, who we saw just getting into a little bit of trouble earlier on, but he looks to have recovered quite well. And he looks as though he's actually going, I'm not really sure what he's doing there. He looked like he's just overtaken the pace car, and I don't know if he thought, no, now he's slowing down and letting them all back through again. So I'm not sure what he thought was going on there, but it looks as though we were actually correct, and he should have remained behind that pace car in second place. So anyway, just watching him down there on the apron, I'm not really sure what his plan is here. Just having a quick look.
Dropping back now, almost as if he's got a penalty or something.
Yeah, he's sort of dropping back in. I think he's going to come up and resume that second place. It's just that everyone's kind of slowing down to help let that happen. So I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe he got an incorrect instruction on the radio or something like that. But yeah, he's going to have to start behind the pace car with everyone else.
Yeah. It's almost like he thought he was the lucky dog or something, and he had right away. But no, he was in second place. He wasn't a lap down.
All right, well, this is going to be interesting. So we've got the front row once again on old tyres, but not that old. Let's forget they've only been under green for a few laps when that caution came out. So they're going to grid up 2x2 again. That front row did not pit. Everybody else is on brand new tyres. So that would be Matt Danson, Stephen Williams, Rob Lee, Ricky Cornwall, Bomford, Wilton, Sorensen. All those guys are on fresh tyres. The two guys out front, their tyres are a little bit older. They'd be a little bit warmer, though they would have cooled off under this pace car period. But they're going to be older. They've just had that little new sheen taken off them. They're definitely roded in. Which means that there is going to be a slight pace pace disadvantage for those top two. Braden Boulis, we know how fast he is. He may be able to live with it. I'm not sure if Scott Butler's going to be able to live with it, and I'm not sure how much pressure Matt Danson is now going to be able to apply to the back end of his teammate, given the fact that he's got tyres that are a few laps newer.
And this is going to be interesting. Can't wait for this restart. I don't think Danson will play around. He's got extra rubber. He's looking to go.
Yeah, I think he's going to go for it. There's no reason for him not to. You can see these teammates certainly aren't working together. But yeah, they are away. Braden Boulis jumps. Matt Danson goes with him. Looks as though Scott Butler's holding on pretty well around the outside there, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold that pace too much once they get to the first turn. Looks as though Williams has got to do his best to get right down underneath him. He doesn't quite manage it first time round. Butler actually holding on quite well, and there seems to be a bit of a bottleneck behind Williams. And Matt Danson definitely going at the back of Braden Boulis now. He's doing his best to get up there. Darren McKenzie, you can see a little bit further back in the field. He's shuffling around with some of the other guys, hoping to avoid getting caught in any more nonsense. Raymond Yeager's there as well. He's had some problems tonight. So these guys all trying to shuffle their way through and work out. I think the only two just side by side are Yeager and McKenzie, and they're battling over 12th and 13th position at the moment, just getting up into the back of Cheney as well, and just trying to push him to the outside, and McKenzie trying to make that pace back through. Ryan Jones looking for a look down the inside of one of the Alliance trucks there, and up the front we've got Braden Boulis and Matt Danson just leading fairly comfortably. Looks as though Danson's trying to put some pressure on the back end of his teammate, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to. And Scott Butler looks as though he's finally given best to Stephen Williams, who goes right around his outside, and now he's going to have to deal with Ricky Cornwall and Robert Lee, who's just got his nose under Cornwall now there as well. He's just not quite able to get his foot on the throttle as early as Cornwall was. He's going to have to settle back in behind him and wait for another opportunity, but that opportunity will probably come fairly quickly as Scott Butler's tyres wear off. He's got a bit of damage on the front already too. You can see Cornwall now having a Butler, whereas that's actually, yeah, it is, yep. It is Ricky Cornwall having a nibble at Butler. He's gone through there. Butler gets a little bit loose there, and you can see that Rob Lee has been able to take advantage of that as well. And as Ryan Jones gets a piece of the wall, there's a gaggle of Alliance trucks back there with McKenzie. Skurlock trying to fight his way back up as well. So lots of guys with a lot of varying stories in the pack at the moment, stories of issues and fight backs and trying to work their way back up through the field. And meanwhile, the two leaders just wrapping their serenely, and I believe that Danson is actually starting to close the gap now to Braden Boulis, and they're actually coming up on a little bit of lap traffic. That's Glenn Ince. We saw him earlier on. He was the one doing burnouts on the grid. He was the one who spun into the wall.
Oh, Rob Lee, big crash on the back straight.
Oh, right, we've got a wreck. We've got a big wreck on the back straight, as you just said, Danny, with Rob Lee. It looks as though Ryan Jones involved in that as well. And there's a few others. Looks like Ben Doherty potentially. I'm just having to look at see how that started, and it looks as though Rob Lee, he's just got in the wall by himself. He's just got in the wall by himself, hit the wall, bounced back onto the track. He's taken Jones, he's taken McKenzie. Doherty really got away with that pretty well, but certainly Ryan Jones and Rob Lee and Darren McKenzie with huge amounts of damage, and I think just about everybody else who was close to that got away, if not scot-free, almost scot-free.
Yeah, it almost looks like it should have been a lot more cars involved there. Ryan Jones over the roof, he's going to damage there. I mean, you can see this in the real-time accident. It's like all the spring they did it. Sort of reminds me of
It is certainly very Dover-esque in that particular way. You've got a lot more runoff down towards the bottom of Dover, but that just, I suppose, gives you the opportunity to hit that much harder. So having a look now at the leaders, they are all coming to the pits again, and this is going to redress that tyre balance between Boulis and Danson. They're both going to be on the same type of tyres now, as will Stephen Williams, Cornwall, Butler, all of those guys. Butler actually held on very well. He did get monstered a little bit, but he only dropped from second back to fifth. And we've seen guys before on older tyres, especially with a bit of damage there and stuff, which wears the tyres off more quickly because the car isn't as aerodynamically efficient. And he really didn't fall back that far, so kudos to him. I think he did a very, very good job not to get involved in any nonsense and actually hang on to that position. So him staying out there was absolutely the right strategy call because he has gained in big positions. So Scott Butler qualified 11th, now running in 5th, so he's done an excellent job.
a little bit bit surprised nobody took 2 tyres there. They'd only run a handful of laps. I think if we get another couple of yellows, someone's definitely going to try it. I mean, it doesn't work out too well in this series, but you never know. It's still early in the race.
When did history ever play, and logical thought ever play a part in race strategy? I'm not sure. So I'm sure somebody will actually try it before this race is over, going on to 2 tyres. I'm still not 100% sure that we didn't see Stacey Walker try that already. So just speaking of Stacey Walker, he's just coming off the pit lane now, having got some damage repaired. Darren McKenzie, unfortunately, still sat on pit lane. He's got quite a bit of damage out of that one. Rob Lee, unfortunately, he's taken that truck behind the wall. I don't think we're going to see him play any further part tonight. Ryan Jones, he is also on the in the pit lane, and probably will. No, it looks like he may have actually disconnected as well, taken that truck behind the wall. So Darlington, too tough to tame, certainly living up to its reputation tonight. It's certainly claimed more than its fair share of very, very skillful and talented drivers. But even the best can come to grief here for absolute certain, and that's why it's got the reputation that it does.
It certainly does, but there's still quite a number of cars left from this one, or trucks, sorry. That's 17, 18, so yellows for this one.
Well, we have 16 trucks left on the lead lap, don't we? So that's still a very good, strong field of drivers. From Bullis all the way down to Ben Doherty, our championship leader is sitting there in 16th position at the moment after having to take avoiding action from that last wreck. I believe he picked up a couple of knocks, but I don't think it's going to affect that truck too much. Just having a look at him, he's got a little bit of a crushed up fender on the right hand side, the right hand front. Well, I don't think there's actually too much more damage on that truck. He's got a slight ripple on the rear as well, but I don't think there's anything there that's going to cost him massive amounts of pace. It might just hurt him slightly in terms of tyre wear, but he's just as things have shaken out, he's sort of moved up to 13th position. So he's definitely going to need to be making some strides forward. But his championship rival, Michael Skurlock, remember, going into this round only 1 point behind him. He's up there in 8th place at the moment, so look how quickly these things have turned. Skurlock now leading Doherty, Raymond Yeager in between them as well. So the top 3 in the championship really having a rough night. And it's actually the Nexus Esports guys who are out there leading up the front, plus Stephen Williams, who's been such a strong competitor in Thunder over the years. He's sitting there up in 3rd place as well. So it's anyone's race, this. It really is anyone's race.
I was just taking a look at the rear chase shots. There's only 5 trucks on track that don't have damage. Surprise, surprise, they're all in the top 5.
Absolutely. Just having a quick look at Ricky Cornwall as well. He's done a really good job tonight. I mean, he started way back in, well, not that far back, but he started in 8th place where most of the carnage has been happening. His truck is absolutely spotless, and he's sitting there in 4th place now, so great job by him. So just having a look now, and Braden Bullis leads them away again. He gets on the throttle, dancing away much better this time. He's almost to the point that he can go with him and slot him behind. He hasn't given anybody else a chance to get up the inside of him and take that position. So he's dropped right down in behind his teammate. Stephen Williams hanging on to that 3rd place from Ricky Cornwall. But then there is an absolute gaggle of trucks behind them who look on the edge of wrecking any minute at all. They're fanning out on the straight. Michael Skurlock's involved in that. Looks like Cheney's there on his outside, and Raymond Yeager is, it's Raymond Yeager. Raymond Yeager's dropped back a little bit. He's sitting on the inside of John Sorensen at the moment. And Blake Haswell, we saw him involved in that big wreck before, but he's managed to keep that truck going. And he's sitting in behind the pair of them waiting for a mistake, but it looks as though most of them have got themselves sorted out pretty well. It looks as though Stacey Walker's carrying a fair amount of damage. He's dropped off the back of this field quite quickly, as has Glenn Hintz, who's actually sitting there 4 laps down at the moment. We've got Darren Brumfield, who's 11 laps down. So a lot of those guys definitely just fighting for survival out there at the moment. But Braden Bullis, Matt Danson just running line astern at the front, and Stephen Williams able to go with them. So he's actually not letting those guys get away. And then there's a little bit of a gap back to Ricky Cornwall, Scott Butler, and Kevin Bomford as they all get themselves sorted out back into race mode again.
So Stephen Williams has been pretty quick the last few weeks, so it's good to see him still up there. I'm just taking a look down at Ben Doherty. It looks like he's back on track now, but just looking at Ben Doherty, he's obviously coming through the back now. He's made it up 13th around the traffic. See how far we can get up.
Yeah, well, Ben's a pretty patient driver. You know, I've seen him on a couple of occasions. You know, just sort of do this sort of thing where things might not go his way. You know, he's not the type to make frantic moves and stress or anything like that. He'll just pick them off as time sort of allows him to do. He's certainly got an amount of pace at the moment. We can just see him pulling up onto the back of Blake Haswell. Blake carrying a fair amount of damage on there, so I would be surprised if Ben wasn't able to clear. Although, just as I say that, it's just as I'm saying good things about him, he runs up and picks up Darlington stripe off the wall. But I imagine he's going to start picking his way forward. Also, that other championship protagonist, Michael Skurlock, he's sitting there right behind the Alliance Motorsport trucks of Wilton and Montfort at the moment, and he's going to be looking to make his way forward. But the question is, how's he going to make his way forward? There's very, very little passing opportunity here, and those two trucks ahead of him are of a very similar pace.
Skurlock's just sitting on the back of this tool line. But I'm just having a look at Stephen Williams. I mean, he's sticking with Matt Danson here. Yeah, playing very good indeed. How that comes down to the end of the race. But
yeah, he's doing an excellent job there, isn't he, in third place? You know, as you mentioned, he is sticking to the back of Matt Danson. He's not letting him get away. Braden Bullis, Matt Danson's actually keeping Bullis in sight. And it's actually going quite well for all three of those guys, and they're sort of being able to pull out and gap the field behind them. They're keeping out of all the trouble, they're keeping out of all the crashing and the banging and the nonsense that's happening further back, all that sort of frantic midfield stuff that we always see, and they're just stroking along there out front. Speaking of some of the stuff that's happening a little bit further back, Skurlock now really getting to work on the back of Aaron Wilton, is having a look down the inside. I'm not sure he won't be able to get that done. He's just getting tucked in behind Wilton once again, and Wilson's actually starting to fall off the back of his teammate Bomford as well. So it looks as though he's might be struggling a little bit more for pace, and he's got Skurlock all over him. It looks as though Skurlock taking a look down the inside now. Here he goes. He's got him down the inside. He's just going to try and stick it down the bottom. Wilson's going to try and hang tough around the outside, but he hasn't managed it. Skurlock's gone, and Jaeger now looking to go with Skurlock, take advantage of that, and actually make that move and gain a position for himself as well. So these two battling in the championship, and they're battling out on track as well. And it looks as though Jaeger's just looking to follow what Skurlock's doing and make those moves. And I think the next target for Skurlock that we're going to see is actually going to be Wilson's teammate Kevin Bomford, winner at Daytona this year, don't forget. So he's not exactly a muppet. He's not going to be hard. It's not going to be very easy to pass at all. So Skurlock, as he's working his way up the field, coming up against more and more stiff opposition as he gets up among the faster competitors.
Yeah, it's an interesting race back there. It looks like Williams has just fallen now behind Matt Danson. He's losing a little bit of time, but the rest of them behind are pretty good though. He's just up on the back now of John Sorensen. He's just making his inside there. He's going to make that nice stick. I'll move him up a little bit in places.
Yeah, and he's got Bradley Cheney next on his list. So we're seeing those championship protagonists really, or championship leaders at the moment, as Cheney just gets a bite of the wall, just moving up so slowly. They've all had a little bit of a issue tonight. All three of those top three in the championship have struck some sort of trouble, and they're all on recovery drives of sorts, and they're all actually doing a really good job picking their way back up through the field. So as you mentioned, Stephen Williams is now starting to fall off the back of Danson and Bullis. It looks as though perhaps he hasn't quite had the tyre life that the other two have been able to get. He's starting to fall away. But Scott Butler, I just want to actually give him some big props at the moment, because he started a little bit further back. He started in 11th place, and then he took that gamble on the pit stops, which jumped him all the way up the field, and he's really managed to hang there. He's still in 5th place. That's where he restarted. He hasn't gained anything, but he hasn't lost anything, and he's actually running there ahead of some fairly capable drivers. So I think he's done an excellent job, and if he's able to keep it this solid, I imagine that he's got a few fast guys coming behind him, but I'd say a top 10 definitely on the cards for Butler tonight if he doesn't make any mistakes.
Yeah, it does definitely look that way. Danson, he just lost a bit of time there in turn 4. He lost 3 tenths, but up until then he was catching Bullock at a 10th a lap, and he was only a few tenths away from him, to be honest. But he's definitely coming. Lead's getting...
Yeah, battle for the lead heating up now, and we just saw, I believe it was Darren Brumfield just moving out the way of those two leaders to allow them to continue their battle unhindered. And Danson probably would have been hoping that Brumfield made more of a nuisance of himself there to kind of bring his teammate back towards him a little bit. And these two Nexus boys, they've cleared out. They're now leading Stephen Williams 4.6 seconds behind this battle. It's just got out to 5.1 actually as I was speaking. So these two guys really clearing out. They're the class of the field tonight in front of everybody, and everybody else looks as though they're fighting for third at best at the moment.
Yeah, the leaders, the growing average, I think Nance's just falling off the loss now. He's still keeping there. Modest, he's actually gained a little bit here. No, he's just lost fraction. But yeah, they got first place down 10 seconds now, and definitely Bulos and Nancy the class of the fields here.
Yeah, so while they're pulling out the front, we mentioned Michael Skurlock earlier on. He's pulling up onto the back of Scott Butler, who's doing such an awesome job here. I don't think he's quite got the pace in that truck that Skurlock does. He's carrying a little bit of damage. Skurlock making his move to the inside now. Is he going to get enough overlap to get in there? Yes, he is. And Scott Butler just hanging around the outside, but I don't think he's going to make too much of an issue of that, and he doesn't. He drops in behind Skurlock. Very sensible. I think he realised that Skurlock had more pace than he does. He's just protecting himself at the moment and protecting that truck and hoping to have something reasonably healthy to fight with at the end of the race. So he's not too worried about that. He'll let Skurlock go. And the next one up behind him is Kevin Bomford behind that Blake Haswell. Just as we were talking him up, Scott Butler does get a piece of the wall, but just looking a little bit back further behind him, I think his next imminent threat is going to come from the guy who's sitting in ninth at the moment, Ben Doherty. He's working away on the back of Haswell. He has been for a while, and Haswell just moving out to have a look at Sorensen. No, it's not Sorensen, it's Bomford, sorry. Just coming past Bomford, Doherty goes past Bomford, so that's another position for these two, and I think Doherty and Haswell actually looks like he's got reasonable pace at the moment as well, but he's carrying a little bit more damage on the front of that truck, so I wouldn't actually be that surprised if Doherty was able to make the move sooner rather than later and then actually get back up on the back of Scott Butler.
It's definitely coming. It does look like it's a good pace. I mean, we're getting into the stage of the run now where the tyres are going to definitely start wearing off, and especially at this track, I know if history tells me anything, it's definitely going to get loose on these corner exits.
Yeah, absolutely, it certainly does, and the more this green flag run goes on, the more these guys are going to be feeling that, and depending on whether or not these guys actually ran long green flag runs, long runs during practice, because a lot of people, they try and get their cars tuned for qualifying in the practice session and perhaps don't focus on the long runs as much as they should, especially if they're not expecting to get many. But if this run continues, these guys are the guys who did practice the long runs in practice, to use their practice sessions, they're going to actually you're going to be able to tell who they are, because they're going to know what the truck's going to do, that it's going to start to get loose, and it looks as though we've got an Alliance truck just down the bottom. Brett Douglas, I think that is. We saw him with all the damage. He might actually have just resumed the race after coming back out of the pits. And his truck looks absolutely terrible. It's all minced up on the front end there, but he's going to get back out there. He's a few laps down, but 52 laps down to be exact, but he's getting back on track, and he's going to get what he can out of this race.
Yeah, just having a look back, Bradley Cini, he's just copped a bit of top the wall, and he's hit down the back stretch, and he's also spun it coming to the pit lane. He's just going to play now.
Oh, that's a shame for those two. Darren McKenzie hasn't even been in the wars tonight, and you could argue that none of it really his fault. But while we're talking about that, the gap for the lead has really tightened up. We got Matt Danson less than a tenth of a second off the back of his teammate right now. I don't know how he's pulled that back so quickly, but he's certainly done it, whether it's time management, maybe a bit of traffic intervening, but Danson right on the back of Braden Bullis and giving him absolute hell. Bullis chucking a block, actually feeling the need to block Danson. How often do we see Braden Bullis under pressure? Hardly ever. And but Danson really getting up onto the back of Bullis now and actually making him feel as though he needed to chuck that block down there into the last turn. And they're actually coming up on the back of one of the lap cars. I believe that's Ensign. Danson looking for the lead. It looks as though Danson's got it done. Danson, I think Bullis may have actually just grabbed a piece of the wall there, got a little bit sideways or something, and Danson has got that move done for the lead of the race. Fantastic move.
Yeah, he has. I'm not sure if you're a little bit of a wall here. Like, a common etiquette here is if the car's fast and you want to let him go, you let him go on the straights, and that way you don't lose too much time. But Danson, he just seems to be a little bit higher than Bullos, especially in turns 3 and 4. He's getting a good run off of turn 4.
Yeah, it certainly is. And now they're just catching up to the back of Ince. Having raced against Danson before, I'm absolutely sure that he's on the radio telling Ince which side he wants him to go to allow him to get past most easily. And as he just comes up the back there, he looks as though he might be getting impeded just slightly. And but yeah, Danson just moving to the inside there, hoping Ince holds his line on the outside. And Bullis is going to follow him through. So these two, this duel is not over yet by any means. And these two running there together up the front of this race, and they've absolutely dropped everybody else. They're coming up now to lap, I believe, Michael Latter. They've got another one who's just off track there, who's working their way back up. They're going to wait for the leaders to go past before they come back up onto the racing surface. And these two now coming up onto the back of Michael Latter, who dives nice and low to let them go as well.
Yeah, to me, it's just like Danson's a little bit higher in turns 3 and 4. He might be utilising the shadows of the billboards, actually getting his right side tyres cool and a good run off that. Now he seems to just be edging away from Bullis.
Yeah, not sure. It's not often that we see Bullis actually slower than anybody. So just the fact that he's in there sort of behind Danson at the moment and maybe losing a bit of pace, you can see he's actually just started to copy Danson's line through there and run in the shadows like you were mentioning earlier on. So perhaps he's actually learned something from his teammate and the reigning champion. They both seem to be running in very similar lines now. So I think that we'll probably find that gap start to stabilise, although it does appear to be actually extending at the moment. That gap has gone from 0.1 of a second out to nearly 0.5 of a second. And they're also dropping all the guys behind him, so it really does look like a two-truck race at the moment. We've passed half distance now, so we've got a fairly good idea of who's gone what in relative pace. We've got 12 trucks left on the lead lap, and these two look as though they're just charging away from everyone at the moment.
Yeah, they definitely are. They've left Stephen Williams 8.8, 9 seconds behind here, 9.1 as that lap finishes. But yeah, Danson definitely probably that half truck just a little bit higher through 3 and 4. He's definitely getting a good run. Definitely got some grip up there.
Yeah, he's finding grip up there, and I think his teammates trying to go with him. But as you say, I think that Danson's he's just getting about half a truck width higher up that track, as you mentioned, running it right there into the shadows. For those guys who might not know, you definitely, the cooler track, you find a lot more grip. It's definitely noticeable. So you'll actually see guys on ovals especially actually chase those shadows, try to run in there as much as possible to try and get the advantage of the more grip on the cooler track. And I think that's what's working out particularly well from Danson at the moment. Just watch as he comes through here. See, he's running his whole truck up there in that shadowed area, and I don't think the Bullis is actually getting his inside tyres into that shadowed area, and that actually could be the difference between these two at the moment.
No, Danson's definitely listening to us. He thinks there's ANZCAR barriers up there. He's running right on top of it.
Yeah, trying to pick up a stripe of Darlington Pride, I think. But they're just coming up to lap Cheney, who you mentioned had that issue before. Spun, didn't bring the caution out. And he's just staying nice and high there, letting the leaders through. Just means that they didn't quite get to take their preferred line this time because Cheney was up top. But they'll just cruise through there. Nothing gained, nothing lost between the two of them. And they'll continue on. They're just actually pulling up to... they've got somebody else who farmed to Bromfield again. Caution is out. Caution is out. So this will bunch them up once again.
It looks like
Scott Butler. Scott Butler's down as well. So that's really unfortunate. He had such an awesome run going. So not quite sure what's happened. I'm just going to have a quick look back. It looks as though, yeah, Butler's actually just got off the outside wall, the exit of turn 2. And looks as though Sorensen hasn't been able to slow down, got to the back of him and turned him. And Butler's actually come back around and snagged Sorensen as well. So Butler and Sorensen together, and that's unfortunate for the pair of them. Both having a very good run, Butler in particular with that great move earlier on. And great decision earlier on to stay out on his tyres. And unfortunately that's all been undone with that little mistake.
Yeah, that's definitely unfortunate for Sorensen. Really had nowhere to go. Butler sort of came off the wall there, and he's, the old rule is what goes up must come down, and he sort of went down to try and avoid it, but unfortunately Butler sort of clipped there. And I don't know if it's done too much damage. He's definitely got a little bit of damage out there, but both trucks look like they new.
All right, so I think it absolutely goes without saying we're going to see everybody who can will get, absolutely. So for anyone who's not aware, the rules in stock car racing are the first lap around, the lead lap cars will come in, the second lap around, everybody a lap down count. So we're definitely going to see the top 10 trucks, or the guys still on the lead lap, come down the pit lane now. Here they come. It's going to be pit crew versus pit crew. Danson versus Bullis, Nexus Esports versus Nexus Esports as they come down the lane together. They're both hitting that pit lane speed limit right now, so no one's really going to be gaining on each other, although Bullis taking a slightly tighter line in there to try and shorten his entry as much as possible. Just watching those two come in now, nose to tail. Everybody else a fair way behind them, hadn't managed to catch up by the time that the pit entry actually took place. So these two coming down the pit lane now, they will pull into their bays right up the front. That's where they qualified. So they're going to be pulling into their bays right up the front of this pit lane. And we see Danson's slot in, Bullis is in, Williams is coming down now as well, and Williams is in. I don't think he's going to be a factor in this race for the lead off pit road. Let's see which one of these Nexus guys gets it. It's Danson versus Bullis. I think Danson is way ahead with his pit stop actually, and he's going to get out ahead of his teammate quite comfortably. So I think he perhaps hit his marks, although he seems to slow down on the end of the pit lane. I don't know why he did that, but anyway, so he's come out right ahead of his teammate, and the positions remain the same. Although it looks as though, if I'm not mistaken, Ricky Cornwall has actually got ahead of Stephen Williams. So Ricky Cornwall is going to be up there in a net third place. So that's an excellent result for him.
Yeah, definitely is. I'm not sure why Danson slowed down. It almost looked like he was teasing his teammate. He got out sort of ahead of him. But yeah, Stephen Williams back into fourth. But he's definitely had a good run tonight. Definitely top 5 truck.
Yeah, he has done. And Stephen Williams, of course, having recently signed up with Alliance Motorsports as well. So he's another Alliance driver out there on track, although I don't believe his truck's showing that team livery tonight. But he's definitely part of that stable, having joined them in recent weeks. So our top 4. Matt Danson, Braden Bullis, Ricky Cornwall now up into third, Stephen Williams, Blake Haswell, Ben Doherty, he's made some positions back up, running in 6th, and he's ahead of his championship rival, 2 positions ahead. Michael Skurlock, who's down there in 8th with Kevin Bomford between them. Aaron Wilton and Will Barrington round out the top 10. They are your top 10 on the lead lap, although I imagine we're going to see Scott Butler get the wave around and become the 11th car on that lead lap. Once he's actually waved past, they get the lucky dog.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Butler will, because he was actually involved in that accident. I'm pretty sure once iRacing deemed him to be in an incident, he won't get the lucky dog.
Of course he was. Yes, you are quite right, Daniel. Having been involved in that accident, he probably will not get that wave around this time. So he's going to have to fight off Tristan Koch and John Sorensen. All those guys 1 lap down at the moment. And I think they're going to, or have they actually, I see. No, it looks like no one's actually awarded the lucky dog this time, but he's going to have to fight those guys to be the first truck 1 lap down to actually allow him to get the lucky dog position when the caution comes out next time.
Yeah, this is going to be a good restart here. I'm looking forward to see what Danson has for Bullis. They're just on the back straight now, heading into turn 3 for the restart. Bullis on the outside, Danson on the inside. Danson's got to give this all he's got here. We're coming down laps 76, 77 when they get the green. So coming down to the water towards the last 40-odd lap of the race. It's going to be a good one.
Well, we saw that Bullis actually gave Danson no favours at all. They're certainly not orchestrating these restarts between the teammates. So did him no favours, jumped early, and actually allowed him to be swamped on more than, or not quite swamped, but certainly come under pressure on more than one occasion. So don't expect any favours to Bullis from Danson here at all. He'll be quite happy for him to come under attack from Cornwall and co.
Yeah, Danson's gone. The green flag's gone. Danson's out to the lead. And you got Bullis in 2nd, Cornwell sticking with them in 3rd, and Williams in 4th still.
All right, so great restart as we expected. So we've got the top 3 running together now. Ricky Cornwall, he's very aggressive. I was actually talking to his team boss Chris Purnell a few nights ago, and just about Ricky Cornwall. He was talking about some of the way that he drives and how aggressive he is. Looks as though that aggression may have just got the best of him as he's rubbed off the wall, and his new teammate Stephen Williams is going to dive down the inside, or he's going to look down the inside, perhaps not get that move done. But definitely definitely the youthful aggression of Ricky Cornwall. He is quite young. I think he's only about 16 years old. Certainly didn't pay dividends there as he's run up into the wall and cost himself a fair bit of momentum. But in the meantime, Matt Danson leading away from Braden Bullis. Those two are going along quite well out the front, and then putting a bit of a gap to the chasing pack, as we've seen pretty much all race so far.
Yeah, now Doherty's just made the move on Haswell to take 5th position. That's Michael Skurlock's back in 9th, so he's 4 points clear, or another 4 points gained here. So Ben Doherty definitely a good comeback driver here, top 5.
Hasn't it seesawed so much between those guys tonight? You know, those top 3 in the championship, Doherty, Skurlock, and Jaeger. We've mentioned those guys so much. Jaeger looks as though he's 17 laps down at the moment, so it has not been a good night for him. But we've got Doherty actually putting Stephen Williams under pressure now. Williams has been one of the fastest guys in this race from the outset, and even if he has appeared to be a little bit hard on his tyres, certainly he's been one of those front runners. But Doherty's really starting to put a lot of pressure on him at the moment, and could potentially be looking at moving up to that 4th place.
Yeah, he's definitely getting there. Stephen's on the back of Ricky Cornwell too, so this is actually not a bad battle. It should be interesting to see what happens. Out at front, Danson's still leading a couple of truck lengths over Bullos.
Yeah, there's tight battles everywhere, isn't there? I'm not sure whether these two are actually going to race each other. It looks as though they're going to race each other hard, but I guess what I'm saying is I'm not sure that they're going to be able to overtake one another. I'm not sure that one of them has got the necessary pace, barring a little bit of influence from a piece of lap traffic or something like that. I'm not sure that either one of them is necessarily faster enough than the other one to actually make an overtaking move. But of course, we did see Danson earlier on make that bit of a move around Bullis, but it could well have been affected by a slight mistake that Bullis made just nudging the wall. We rarely see mistakes from either of these two in relation to that type of thing, so it's certainly going to be a job for Bullis to get the best of Danson now. Looking back, as we were just talking, Ricky Cornwall, Stephen Williams, Ben Doherty really applying the pressure to the back of Williams now, and this is kind of pressure that Williams really hasn't been under for most of the race. He's been kind of along there in 3rd place, pretty much out on his own, but he's really having a lot of pressure put on him by Doherty, and in turn is applying a lot of pressure to the back of his teammate Ricky Cornwall.
Yeah, definitely. Battle for 30 is definitely heating up. Skurlock doesn't look like he's got too much damage. I think he's just sort of playing safe at the back in 9th. I want to sort of move up through the field here. He's definitely really got Doherty on his side. He knows he has to be up there with him, trying to pass him. But Doherty right on the back of Stevens there.
Yeah, it's getting very close. I think he's going to actually make the move off the exit of one of these turns. You know, he's really coming off the corners well. He's sort of coming out of there, having a look. I'm not sure he was quite so well off the last one, but he's running up there, using that shadow. Not as much as Danson was, but he's definitely using that shadow at the outside of the track, and really trying to get in the toe of Stephen Williams, mimic his moves, do everything that he's doing to try and actually gain on him. And he's really gaining on the entry to that corner. That particular turn, he's just actually made a mess of it and rubbed to the wall and lost everything he gained. But he really made a good piece of gain on Stephen Williams there on the corner entry, and perhaps entered a little too fast because he wasn't able to keep it down off the wall. And he's just going to have to work on pulling that gap in again now.
As you were speaking, Bullock's actually taking gave that position away entering turn 3. Ducked on the inside, let Bullock go, and he's actually lost quite a lot of time actually, I'd say, in that process. I'm not sure why. It was sort of staying ahead of Bullock, but maybe he thinks he's got the better truck on the longer run.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I'm not sure why they'd be giving best to each other. Of course, Danson is attempting to aid his teammates bid for the championship. We're just having a look at the point score. Braden Brawless is down there in 6th place at the moment, but he's missed 3 races. So he's definitely working on getting the points to come back and earn a ticket to the Thursday Thunder for the next season. But it's obviously going to be halfway through the Thunder season that he'll be looking to join in, and that could be what that move was about. Danson actually trying to maximise the point score of his teammate and have a mate to play with up in Thunder.
Yeah, well, we saw Matt Danson this season, but season 1 of 2018, he missed a couple of races, I think, and still completely dominated the standings. Just having a look back here at Stephen Williams and Doherty, it looks like Haswell is actually put on the back of this group.
Yeah, he certainly has. I think one of the stories with Danson as well is Not to take anything away from the achievement, because he did dominate the championship. He probably would have won the championship anyway. But a lot of his main competition, Bruce Smith and the like, actually moved up to Thunder halfway through that truck season. Just a little bit of a promotion that they had sort of halfway through that season, which Doherty's just grabbed the wall again actually. But that, I guess, inflated Danson's lead to something absolutely unsurmountable. I think he won by like 100 points or something like that, because all his main opposition disappeared. But that's, once again, it's not taking anything away from Matt Danson and the way that he drove in that series, because he was out in front anyway in that points. But he was offered the chance to step up to Thunder, but he actually elected to remain in the trucks and finish it off and actually win the championship, because it did actually mean something to him to win this truck championship, and he certainly did that in fine style.
Yeah, he definitely did. He pretty much dominated every oval race. Just taking a look at the lap cars here, actually giving the leaders a lot of room. They're getting down well below the 8 class. So,
yeah, they're being very polite, aren't they?
Yeah.
Not sure they'd be that polite in Thunder, but yeah, certainly playing very nice with the leaders tonight. It's obviously good to see. Nobody wants to see the leaders' race ruined by lap traffic, so good on them for getting out the way and letting these two go at it. Even though we get the feeling that it may be a little bit of formation flying for these two at the moment to really aid Bullis's bid to move up in those championship standings.
We've got Ricky Conwell here. Stephen Williams now. Oh, it's actually reversed. Stephen Williams has actually gone past Ricky Conwell.
Yeah, he's got that move done somewhere. I didn't actually see that move, but certainly Williams had been applying the pressure and Cornwall's actually nudged the wall there as well, so that's going to give him a wake-up call to just maybe settle down just slightly. We're working lap 92 now, so there aren't too many goes. He gets the wall again, so I think he's going to want to settle down and worry about Doherty rather than catching his teammate Stephen Williams. He's damaged the outside of that truck now. It's been so clean and tidy. There wasn't a mark on it for so long, and now in the space of one lap he's bounced off the wall twice, and he's coming under severe pressure from the championship leader. Just having a look at Doherty getting up there behind him, he's certainly having a bit of a look on Cornwall. I don't think he's going to make the move this time. He's not close enough, but I think there's just a little bit of a difference in line there, and it's actually giving Doherty really good runs off the turns, and I think that we're going to see him try and pull that move sooner rather than later, perhaps next lap. It's just, as you can see, a bit of a variance in line, and Doherty getting off those turns really well. So diving down nice and low, he's diving much lower than Cornwall is, and taking much straighter line off the turn. And I think that he's definitely going to be in a position to at least attempt a move very shortly indeed.
Yeah. We got to turn left a little bit more to get this front foot turn. That's definitely funny to do that. Sort of looks down the inside of turn 1, can't make it happen. What happens going into the trees? Let's get a good run here. Middle of turns 1 and 2. We'll see what happens on the back stretch. Really trying to get the run there, but I reckon in a couple of laps he's definitely going to get by.
Yeah, there can't be, unless Cornwall starts throwing blocks, which would be silly to do at this stage of the race. He's probably going to lose that position, I think. I agree with you. Doherty's coming off those corners really well, and he's going to gain that position fairly shortly, I think.
100%. Then he looks down, another look in turns 1 and 2 here. Still can't get it done.
Here he comes, he's got a great run, and he's just managed to turn it down below Cornwall, and you'd say he's probably going to have it done here. Let's see Cornwall what he does. He does give him space, and Doherty just got up the track, he's rubbed the wall, they both rubbed the wall, and that's not going to do either of them any good whatsoever. And meanwhile, Blake Haswell's just sitting behind these two going, yeah guys, just crash a bit more often, and I may take the two of you.
Yeah, Skurlock not far behind in 7-2, he must be I'm pretty happy with what he sees, fighting for that championship. Only 1 point behind, like you said at the start of this race. Starting to tighten up.
Yeah, so he's in clear air at the moment, Skurlock, actually. So yeah, as you say, sitting there in 7th place. He's got Aaron Wilton behind him, but he's starting to just hopefully creep up on the back of this battle that he can see in front. Oh, Ricky Cornwall's actually made a big error there, got loose off turn 4. And that's actually, after all of that, it's just going to gift the place directly to Doherty, who's going to move up to 4th place. And he's sitting there thinking, well, after all that was easy.
Yeah, he must be. That was actually very easy.
So he's just catching a bit of draft off Cheney's lap truck now and just going past him. So I would expect to see Darlington just start to incrementally extend that gap to Cornwall. And whether he's got enough for Williams, I'm not sure. I mean, we saw them running sort of nose to tail a bit earlier on, and Darty seemed to have enough pace to sort of put pressure on, but I'm not sure if he had enough of a pace advantage to really make a move. So they're doing well at the moment. In fact, we're on a fairly long green run at the moment. Hasn't been as many cautions as I expected to see. We've had a few, but not too many. And I think they're going to need a caution and another pit stop or something like that to allow Darty to perhaps have a go at Williams, because if you have a look at Williams, his truck is absolutely spotless. There is not a mark on that thing. Whereas Darty's actually got a little bit of damage and is going to be wearing off his tyres. He also had that intense battle with Cornwall up behind him, out of the airflow, etc. So he's going to be doing a lot more damage to his tyres than Williams is. And I think they're going to need another caution and some fresh tyres and a bit of repairs to actually give Darty a chance to really give Stephen Williams a hard time for that third place.
Definitely a very good race, and just getting back to the lead, I was just having a look. It has caught 3 cars in traffic. Lost a lot of time to Dancer. Dancer doesn't seem to be gaining as much ground on this run, and I think that's because Bulos has actually taken his line away through 3 and 4. He's definitely up there against the wall in the shadows.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I'm not that convinced these two are racing anymore. After we saw Danson give way to Bullis there, I think these two teammates are actually running the long game. I think that they're thinking of the championship. Bullis is obviously not a Thunder driver at the moment. He's come into this series with an absolute bang, and he's certainly got the ability to run in that series. But he's wanting to win this championship. He's wanting to get up there into the top 3 to earn that automatic promotion and not have to rely on anything else that might be taking place. And Danson has already expressed his desire to see his teammate Bullis up there with him in that series and have somebody to actually run with after Josh Micklemore left that stable and went off to Synergy Sim Racing. So he's very much, I think, playing second fiddle to Bullis at the moment and actually helping him towards that goal of regaining as many points as he possibly can and make up for those 3 races that he's actually missed.
Yeah, he definitely could be. It's just sort of sticking there, half of a second behind. Yet Steve Williams is falling back at 7.5 seconds. Santoldi in 4th, he's 9 seconds back. Looks like his biggest threat's Cornwall still.
Bullis just grabbed the wall, actually. Sorry to talk over the top of you. Bullis actually just grabbed a bit of the wall. We don't see him make that mistake too often, but he's taken a piece of the wall, and Danson right up behind him now. Whether he actually makes a move or not, I don't know. As we mentioned before, these guys could be playing the team game, but Danson's certainly sitting very, very close to the back of Bullis now. Doesn't look too interested in pulling out, though. It looks like he's actually just sitting there and behind him.
And we'll see what happens coming down the front stretch. Yeah, Bullis definitely up on that high line. Danson's not giving up here. I'm going to see if he does try and overtake the lead.
Yeah, not sure what they're actually doing. Maybe they're just looking to put on a good show, or perhaps they are genuinely looking at racing one another. But it's just that move that Danson made to actually give way to Braden Bullis. I'm not 100% sure that they're actually racing each other. Maybe they're just running close for the fun of it. They're certainly gapping everyone else. The gap to Stephen Williams behind now, 8.6 seconds, nearly 8.7. So it's definitely these two, then daylight looking back. So a good night from Texas.
He's looking for the lead. I reckon he's going to try and get it.
Do you think he's looking? They're actually coming up on lapping Darren McKenzie now at the moment. McKenzie had a lot of pace earlier on, but his night's just gone from bad to worse, really, and he's sitting 8 laps down at the moment. So we'll have a look. I think if Danson wants to make a move, we're going to see certainly some aggression from him. I'm not sure if he does, but time will tell. I've been wrong before, and I'd be quite happy to be wrong again if these two are going to race it out for the lead.
Yeah, they could be playing games with each other, just having a little bit of fun. I mean, Danson won enough of these races, he might give one away. I'm not too sure. Personally, I haven't won enough of these races to do that, but Danson might be happy enough.
Yeah, you and me both, mate. But looking back at the battle, we've got Ricky Cornwall now with a bit of damage on that truck, as we mentioned earlier on, and another truck with a bit of damage, but he was actually involved in a big wreck earlier on. That's Blake Haswell. Started 17th. He's up there in 6th place at the moment and running pretty well, especially considering the amount of damage he's actually got on the front of that truck. He's actually starting to put Cornwall under a fair amount of pressure as well, so not sure if he's actually got the stuff to get past Ricky Cornwall, but if he does, certainly looking very racy at the moment, looking as though he's getting ready to make a move. We are working lap 108 at the moment, so coming down to the closing stages of this race, looks as though he had a lot of pace there off turn 2, and sort of jinking around, having a look, see where he might get it done, but at the moment just tucked in behind Cornwall, and he's certainly prioritising the runs off the turns, which is what you should do in oval racing. You don't really overtake under brakes into the entry corners, but it's normally set up on the exit, so he's really prioritising the exits of those turns to try and actually move up and pass Ricky.
Yeah, definitely, and looks like the race for the lead's just sort of off. The fastest track at the moment on track is Stephen Williams. He's got it back down to 8.5 seconds. Probably a little bit too far behind it. Any difference at this stage of the race, unless we get a caution flag. He's definitely making ground.
Yeah, maybe his tyres just sort of coming to him now. But like you say, 8.5 seconds back. He is reeling them in, but he's not reeling them in anywhere near fast enough to make any kind of case for winning this race at the moment. Ben Doherty seems to have actually just sort of steady behind the gap behind Stephen Williams, hasn't made too much of a gain, hasn't lost a great deal. Ricky Cornwall, as we mentioned, has fallen a couple of seconds back, and he's coming under a bit of pressure from Blake Haswell, as we were talking about before. They're back to Skurlock. He's pretty much running on his own. He would have wanted more than 7th place out of tonight, but he's been involved in a little bit of nonsense. But that pretty much goes for everybody. But he just hasn't been able to stage that recovery that we thought he might. And then even further back, about 5 seconds behind Skurlock, we've got Aaron Wilton. And then looking back even further, we've got Bomford and Will Barrington, who are running fairly closely together. Battling, not quite battling yet, but maybe battling shortly over 9th and 10th positions.
Dan's just pulled back within the 10th of a second. They're just about to come up to 5 lap cars who are battling. We almost see a wreck between them.
Oh, this is going to be a mess trying to fight their way through this lot.
Yeah, it definitely will be. They're battling. They don't care the leaders are coming.
No, they're not overly interested in it, are they? They've got their own race to win, so I don't think that these guys are going to be as generous as the guys that we've seen earlier on, pulling right down onto the apron and letting the leaders go. And perhaps if these two leaders aren't actually racing one another and they're happy to hold station. Oh, there has been a wreck. There has been a wreck, you know. Ince has gone in again. But it looks as though it's not going to bring the caution out. But that will have just made the two leaders pucker a little bit, I think. That would have definitely got their attention. So they've cleared one of those cars now, but there is still a bit of a battle going on up front. So I'm not sure if they may be a bit wise to kind of settle down and hold station and not try to push their way past, but I think they probably will regardless. Just having a look now, Bullis just pulling up onto the back of one of those Alliance trucks is John Sorensen, who was involved in a little bit of trouble earlier on tonight, and Will Barrington, who's there. John Sorensen is actually 2 laps down already, so there's nothing for him to gain by pushing too hard on the back of Barrington. He can actually just let those guys go, and Barrington is going to stay high and let them past as well, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like they're both going to try and let them go, especially down the straight here. So almost touches the wall, gets away from it, stays in front of Bullis, and closes right back in on him.
I think Barrington, just as I'm about to talk him up, he runs into the wall, but he's okay, gathers that back up. But I think Barrington's actually driven pretty well tonight. He, had that little stint up the front, took a bit of a gamble on old tyres. He's in 10th place. That's nice and solid. He's got a bit of damage on that truck, but he hasn't really made any mistakes worth the name. Hasn't started anything, hasn't got into any nonsense. So I think he's actually done a very solid job tonight. And to finish there on the top 10 would certainly be a deserved result for him. And being 2 laps ahead of 11th place, it looks like that position is there for the taking for him.
Danson's definitely got the pace here to, I think, we've got 5 laps to go.
We've got Smoke, we've got 2 guys off the track. We've got Cheney and Latter. It looks as though they got together. I think it was Cheney and Latter. Just having a quick look. Yeah, Cheney definitely involved in that. And yes, it was actually Michael Latter. So it looks as though Cheney has just gone to the outside of Latter. Latter was 22 laps down. So certainly didn't have a dog in that particular fight. And as Cheney's gone around his outside, what's happened here? It's actually Cheney's mistake. He's got up into the wall and bounced off and just come down and taken Latter's nose off. So that's unfortunate for the pair of them, especially Ladder, who was just minding his own business. It does look, however, as though he hasn't picked up too much damage from it as he reverses himself straight into the wall and probably gives himself more damage than he actually had in that original accident.
Yeah, I'm just having a listen to the driver scanners. They think this could be the race, actually. We're on lap 117 now, approaching 118. Yeah, that is definitely probably the race.
All right, well, here we are. It looks as though it's going to finish under caution. It certainly will. I guess it's not the first time that will have happened at this place, and certainly won't be the last. So with your winner, provided he can nothing unexpected happens to him over the next few laps, we'll be able to coast home to first place and give his teammate Matt Danson, with Stephen Williams being a very well-deserved third place getter.
Yeah, 100%. Williams has been driving very well the last few weeks. Probably doesn't have the finishes to actually show for how fast he's definitely been up there.
Yeah, he's done very well, actually, and he's always been one of those guys. I mean, he's been competing in ANZCAR for a long time, and Stephen Williams has been one of those guys who sort of flies under the radar a little bit. You know, he's never doing anything silly. He doesn't get involved in any big wrecks, and he's always quite quick. I remember a couple of seasons ago, he and I had a really good battle for the K&N Championship, but I know that he battled you very hard, Danny, in the year that you actually won it. And he's just one of those guys who's always there, and he's very, very hard to stop. And when he's on, he's really on, and he's put in a few blinding performances lately. But he, like we say, he tends to fly under the radar a little bit, but as time goes on, he's sort of just edging his way closer and closer to the front of these races. Of course, he did win a race earlier on this season, a cup race at, I forget exactly which track it was, but I know it was I think it was Auto Club, where he actually turned into a bit of a fuel-saving race, and he poured his strategy to an absolute T, and actually managed to take the win there. So Stephen Williams, definitely one of those on the improve, and certainly going to be making his impact at the front of these fields for a fair amount of time yet, I imagine.
Yeah, funny you say that. I was 100% certain that was Darren McKenzie, but no, you're right. It was Stephen Williams with this field-saving race at Auto Club. That was a good race, that one.
Yeah, it certainly was. I didn't get to see the finish of it, unfortunately, but yeah, definitely saw the headlines the next day, and saw that he'd actually taken that victory. Very well deserved it was too. And Darren McKenzie, you mentioned him just there earlier on, another guy who's been up the front in a lot of those cup races, and is very fast on occasion in the Thunder Series as well, but he's it just hasn't been his night. He's 9 laps down in 13th position. Definitely had the pace to be a lot higher. I think he had top 5 pace tonight. And he'll be probably a little bit disappointed with finishing back there in 13th spot.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the other disappointing driver out there will be Michael Skurlock. He's going to finish this race in 7th, but that's 3 spots behind Doherty, so he's going to fall to 4 points behind with 2 races to go in the season.
Yeah, it's been a bit painful for him, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world. I mean, 7th place is a pretty good overall position. You know, it could have been a lot worse. He could have been, 17th. So he's done all right to get where he was. He would have wanted to place ahead of Doherty, but at the same time, it's solid points. It's solid points with 2 rounds to go. As tonight's proven, anything can happen. So his championship hopes definitely not over, but Doherty will certainly be the happiest of those 3. And I imagine Raymond Yeager, 18th, 27 laps down, he will be fairly devastated at the moment. This has not been his night.
No, it definitely hasn't. I mean, the 2 races we've got left, Indianapolis, that should be interesting, 50 laps there, and then Homestead, 123 laps. So it's definitely going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, it will no matter what happens, unless one of them has a disastrous race next race. I can't imagine that it's not going to be an absolutely thrilling finish at Homestead, and it'll be interesting if Braden's able to get up there as well. Of course, he's been so dominant in the races that he's had so far, but he, he missed those races. He missed those 3. He scored 0 points for 3 races in a row, and he's 38 points at the moment behind the next car in front of him, and which is Darren Brumfield. and he's 51 points off the lead. So he's got a big ask to get to that top 3 and one of the 3 automatic promotion spots. That is a very big ask for Braden Borders, but he won't care too much about that tonight. He's won this race. Next to Sports, they put on an absolute demonstration tonight. There was nobody anywhere near them on pace, and I've got a slight suspicion, as we mentioned earlier on, that was formation driving from the pair of them, and Bullis was always going to win that race, but excellent work nonetheless. They've done an absolutely fantastic job and shown the entire field how it's done.
Yeah, 100%. You'll have to hit him up about that during the post-race interview if he comes in. Just what happened there on the backstretch, he got sort of let in through the lead.
So, yeah, I mean, Bullis is usually up for an interview, so hopefully he does stop by and we can ask him that question. So just watching these guys come down now, and the traditional victory burnouts there from Bullis. He's going to light it up here on the straight. He may even light it up here in tandem with his teammate Matt Danson, popping a few ringies out there as well. Looks like it should have a Thunderstruck soundtrack, but we haven't actually got that here. But both of those guys very deservedly lighting up together on the straight, and everybody else pulling into the pits, and we'll grab a few guys for some interviews pretty shortly. But these guys, they've just done an awesome job tonight, and saluting the crowd together as well they might, because it's been, I believe it's been an excellent team performance from the pair of them.
Yeah, they're just doing the old Alan Kowicki Polish victory lap here, going the wrong way around the track, both of them side by side. It's actually pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it is actually pretty cool to see the pair of them going around together. So normally the type of thing that would be done after a big championship win or something like that, but I think they put on such a dominant performance tonight, who would actually deny them that the opportunity to go around and salute everybody, because they've been the class of the field. And it's funny to actually see them going around in the wrong direction while other guys are still coming back to the pits. But yeah, absolutely brilliant work from the pair of them, and I don't think anyone would begrudge them this victory lap.
That was actually a really good race. I mean, we usually see Buller sort of bash on out there, and then that's the end of the race. He leads every lap, but Danson putting up a good fight tonight. Not sure if he had what it took in the end. He was definitely there. It looked like he was looking for the lead. Yeah, not too sure if it was teammates playing around for each other or not, but that was probably one of the races where another driver kept Bullos honest.
Yeah, certainly did. And just sort of looking back in the field as well, I mean, it was good racing up and down. There are a few wrecks, as you always expect here, but everyone, there weren't any real bonehead moves. There was nothing that happened that looked really silly, where you just looked at them like, why on earth did that happen? There were some accidents that were caused just by hard racing, by mistakes, which you can understand. Most of them came on the exits of the corners, just tagging the safer barrier, where, as you mentioned at the start of the race, it actually just juts out at the exit. So you can understand people catching that and sort of running into trouble. But there were also some great battles, some really good battles up and down the field. And if these guys who are coming through the truck series at the moment are the future of future competitors in ANZCAR for a long time coming, then ANZCAR's in very good shape, because there are some really, really good, fast, aggressive but sensible drivers in this particular field. And with these guys looking to, as the two Nexus trucks come together to synchronise burnouts, I'd be dense they've had all night. But yeah, the series is in very, very good shape. There's great depth and really good drivers coming through.
Yeah, there definitely is. Yeah, if you're anyone out there sort of watching and you're interested in taking part of this, you should. The truck series is a good stepping stone, and yeah, you have a lot of fun out there. It was a very good race, and like you say, very clean by everybody. Yeah, no bonehead moves. Just a couple of people catching the wall and sort of pushing back down onto other drivers, but you expect that when you sort of get up in the wall. But other than that, that was a very good race.
Yep, certainly was. So just running over your finishing order now, just to sum it all up. Before we grab some guys in for some interviews, we had your winner, of course, as we mentioned, Braden Bullis once again, starting from the pole, winning the race. Looked very simple. Probably wasn't as simple as all of that. But Matt Danson sitting there in second place, right behind his teammate Stephen Williams, a very well-driven third. Ben Daugherty raced his way up to fourth after some calamity earlier in the night. Ricky Cornwall in fifth. Blake Haswell sixth. Michael Skurlock worked his way from 10th to 7th. He would have been wanting better, but 7th, as we mentioned, pretty solid. Aaron Wilton in 8th, Kevin Bomford in 9th, Will Barrington in 10th, John Sorensen coming home 3 laps down in 11th. He was capable of better. He'll probably want to regroup and get some better luck in the next race. Glenn Ince coming home in 12th, Darren McKenzie 13th. He definitely had a top 5 truck tonight, so he'll probably be pretty disappointed with that 9 laps down finish. Tristan Koch, Bradley Cheney, Darren Brumfield, Michael Latter finishing 25 laps down in 17th place. Always shows the value of continuing on and never giving up. Raymond Yeager, he'll be gutted to be down in 18th place after starting in 6th. Scott Butler 19th, Brett Douglas 20th, Walker 21st, Ryan Jones 22nd, Rob Lee, didn't he have good pace early on in the race? Very disappointing to see him down in 23rd position, and Nathan Tregarten rounding out the field of 24 drivers, 113 laps down. Not his night tonight, but he's been pretty regular, so he'll come back next week for another shot as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, he definitely will. Yeah, next week, Indianapolis. It's going to be a good race. 50 laps. It's a long race, but it's kind of a short race at the same time, especially if we get a lot of green flag racing. But yeah, always a good fun race, Indianapolis. It comes down to that sort of that one groove, and who can keep the tyres up for that one groove.
All right, so just having a look through the server at the moment, just having a quick look to see who's sort of hanging around that we might grab for an interview. I can see Raymond Yeager sitting up there. I'm not sure if he's expecting us, but I might try to grab him for an interview anyway, and see what he's got to tell us about the race. Hopefully he's not too downcast after that finish. Hello, Raymond Yeager. Edward Foster here from the Performance E streaming commentary box. I'm just hoping to grab a quick word with you, if that was okay.
Yeah, no worries.
So, Raymond, you came into the night 3rd in the championship, 6 points off the lead. Obviously, not the finish that you were actually hoping to get tonight. Finishing a little way back in the field. I'm just hoping that you'd be able to just talk us through your race.
Yeah, I had good pace. I felt like I had a truck that could come top 5, maybe with a bit of luck. Just overdrove it, I think, hit the wall a couple of times, and one was a big one, unfortunately.
Yeah, certainly seemed to be one of those where there are a couple of stories like that tonight where quite a few people had decent pace, but perhaps couldn't maximise it so much. So obviously, a bit of good news for you, given the fact that your main rivals in the championship didn't actually win the race, but they both unfortunately managed to, for you, finished in the top 10, which means they're going to extend that points lead a little bit. So in terms of what you're looking for to come back in the next race and probably rectify over tonight, what are you really looking at and focusing on for the next race at Indy?
Yeah, I done a bit of a calculation just then. I've dropped 4th behind Aaron Wilton as well now. Really, the goal is just to get back into that top 3 and clinch that promotion to the Thursday Thunder.
All right, so I'm sure that you've got a number of teammates and everything out there that are certainly behind you to do that. You actually led this championship at one stage and have been fairly well on the pace throughout most of the races. So in terms of that, I mean, are you working very closely with your teammates and that kind of thing to really help you get that secure that promotion spot?
Oh, I don't really have any Australian teammates. I'm racing for Beast Racing, which is an American team, so I sort of run some practice sessions with them during the week. But no, they obviously don't come out and have a run on the races.
All right, no worries at all. So just, I guess to wrap up, I mean, are there any sponsors or anything like that you'd like to give a shout out to while you're on the air here with us?
Yeah, look, as I said, Beast Racing have been really great. Helped me get my pace up this year. Also, Race Spot, which is behind Beast Racing as well. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you for the time, though.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much for your time, Raymond, and wish you all the best. All the best for the next round at Indy. I'm sure we'll see you there, and hopefully you're able to pick up that promotion spot.
Thanks, man. I'll definitely be giving it a crack.
Okay, so that was Raymond Yeager there. He was right up there in the championship in third place coming into this race. Dropped to fourth, as you mentioned, but as he mentioned, but we'll never give up. So we've got Braden Bullis and Matt Danson, the two Nexus boys, sitting there in the green room ready for a chat. So we might actually bring up our winner and have a little bit of a chat with him about that victory and potential team tactics. Braden Bullis, welcome to the Performance E streaming commentary box. Just wanted to, obviously, another fantastic win for you, so congratulations. I'm hoping you'll be able to talk us through the race.
Well, first of all, thank you. As far as the race goes, I mean, just Darlington. That's really all you can say about that.
It definitely is just Darlington, isn't it? You'd always know what to expect when you come here. They call it too tough to tame, and it certainly was for a few people tonight. Just talk us through that, I suppose, towards the end of the race. You're running fairly well there, line astern, with your teammate Matt Danson. I know that you're obviously trying to pull in as many points as you can to make up for the 3 races that you actually missed and secure one of those promotion spots into the Thunder Series. We had a bit of a suspicion there that perhaps there was a bit of team tactics going on, and perhaps you weren't both going for the win, and he was just quite happy to follow you home and let you gain maximum points. Is there any truth to that suspicion at all?
You know, it's funny you say that, because we actually got into a heated argument about what was going to happen there, who was going to win the race. I voted for him, he voted for me. So what we were going to try to do is we were going to try to work out a way that we could go side by side for the white flag lap, and we just have a drag race for it.
All right, so both of you tried to give the win away to the other guy. So, yes, a little bit. Usually it's the other way around with both teammates wanting to beat one another. But anyway, you've taken maximum points, so that's going to help you out in the championship. You've got a few points to make up. I think you're about 50 points going into this race, 50 points away from the lead. But, of course, with a few of the championship guys ahead of you, a few of the guys who do occupy those top 3 spots, actually having a bit of a rough night, you've actually gained quite a few points back. I think Raymond Yeager, who we were just speaking to before, only came home 18th tonight, so that's going to be a good swathe of points for you, sort of looking towards gaining that top 3 spot. I mean, do you think you can do it from here?
I don't. I'm really not sure, honestly. It's definitely quite the hole. I don't know if it's quite possible to make that up with I believe it's Michael and Ben, both having really good nights. So, I mean, I really don't know. I think we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, all you can do is do your best and take each race as it comes. So, I guess before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I got to thank Matt right there. I'm sure you guys could tell we were having a lot of fun out there, kind of messing with one another, hitting the walls in front of each other, scaring each other. Fun time.
And definitely the point towards the end where you came up to that big swirling pack of five or six trucks battling together, who then proceeded to wreck right in front of you. I bet that was quite a moment for you as well.
Oh yeah, I would call that fun. No, I don't know about that. Yeah, that was definitely really scary.
All right, excellent, no problems at all. Well, thanks very much, Braden, and we'll see you again at Indy.
Thank you guys. See you there.
All right, everyone, that was your winner, Braden Bullis. So what we'll probably do now is grab second place Matt Danson in, and might actually let you ask the questions for this one, Danny.
Cool. Matt Danson, how you doing, mate?
I'm very well, thanks.
That's good. Just before you get a chance to talk to your teammate, what was happening there at the end? We saw you pull down on the backstretch and sort of let Bullis through. Was that team tactics? I mean, you seem to have the better truck on the long run. Do you think you had a shot there at the end?
Yeah, much like Schumacher in '99 when he came back from his broken leg to play, rear gunner for Eddie Irvine. I'm here to try and help Braden make his way through to championship glory, and that was just sort of giving him those extra points to get the job done.
That's fair enough. It's good team play. Do you think you had the truck to win it?
Oh, absolutely. I told Braden numerous times that if I wanted it, it was mine, and reminded him of the favour I was doing for him. So yeah.
That's good. Yeah, we did have a chat to Braden. Pretty much the same words were shared there. He apparently had a good argument about it. Who was going to win the race? We've never heard that one before.
We actually had sort of a bit of a plan heading into the last lap, sort of shades of Colin Bond, Alan Moffat, 77, just to run, side by side for the final lap, just to, add a bit of excitement for the final lap. But unfortunately, it didn't quite happen. Maybe next time.
Yeah, crossing the line side by side definitely would have been something to see. So, are you going to be racing at Indianapolis next week?
Yes, yeah, I've sort of strategically got the last few of these races to be able to run out the rest of the season with the 5, that we're allotted to run in the trucks. So, yeah, I'll be there. Can't wait.
Yeah, no, that's good. I know a lot of drivers have sort of used up their five races already from the Thunder Series. The Thunder Series only get the five races in the Truck Series, if anyone's unaware. But look forward to seeing you there, mate. It should be a good race.
Awesome. Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone. So that was Matt Danson coming home in second place tonight, but as he said, could very easily have been a winner. So I guess it's time to wrap things up here. So, Danny, looking back over that race, I mean, what was your overriding memory of it? What stands out for you?
Probably just Danson actually just being able to run with Boulos. I mean, we haven't really seen that throughout the year. Anybody except for Jason Martin, I think, in Michigan. But other than that, sort of Boulos has sort of run out ahead. So it was good to see, somebody be able to race him. I know obviously the win was not thwarted, but obviously Danson didn't show that, or he didn't want to win. But other than that, I think them two fighting with each other was actually pretty good to see.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Those two running so dominantly out the front together was, I guess, a level of domination by one team that you don't often see in stock car racing in general and ANZCAR competition especially. So, that's probably the thing that sticks in my mind as well. There were some success stories like that, some guys who probably wished for a lot better, but that's Darlington, as I think Braden Bullis put it absolutely perfectly when he just said that's just Darlington. So that's what you get. So definitely living up to the reputation of too tough to tame. So I think we'll probably leave it there. So that's the latest round of the 131 Web Radio Truck Series in the books, and we've got 2 rounds to go, and it certainly is tightening up there at the top. So those top 3 promotion spots for the Thunder definitely up for grabs. Everyone really getting down to business now and fighting for them. And I think I can't wait to see what Indy brings us. So for everyone that's watching, thanks very much for joining us, and we will see you next week at Indy. Good night.